good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 24th Street Theater. Welcome to our Saturday Explorer series.
Hola a todos y todas. Bienvenidos a nuestra serie de exploradores de los sábados del Teatro 24.
Soy Jay McAdams. I'm the executive director of this great theater. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I am Jesús Castaño Chima, director artístico asociado.
Half our sign interpreter. Thank you so much, Deanna.
Gracias, Diana.
The sound of this applause, the sound of this laughter in a theater that's been silent for over a year, it does my heart good.
Yeah, it feels pretty cool, Jay.
But
that is only because we have Brad here with us.
That is true. That is thanks to Brad Broff.
Hey guys, good afternoon.
Hey Brad, thanks so much for keeping the Zoom room where it happens alive.
Of course.
Zoom. Zoom. Zoom.
For you Hamilton fans out there. You know, we started our Saturday Explorer series in the last century. That's how long ago it's been. It was at the very end of the 20th century. 1998 was our first year. And in that time, we've had 94 different shows in our
Almost
Explorer
100 shows.
Almost. And they've been across disciplines. We've had dance and puppetry and poetry and digital art, all kinds of disciplines. And this year, we have stories from around the world.
As a matter of fact, we have stories from 4 different continents. We have stories from Asia, Africa, Europe, and of course, America.
That's right.
We cannot be more international than that.
And we wanted to focus on storytelling this year, largely because of the year we just came out of, this year of isolation, right? We thought, what could be better than storytelling? It's the foundation of theater. Theater's another way to tell stories. And what's great about it is it's one person talking, another person listening. It's basic. And in this time of isolation and that things are just getting back to normal, we felt like it'd be good to revisit that basic piece of the art form, storytelling.
Yeah, right now telling stories is very important because it makes us feel empathy. Don't you think so, Jay?
Mm-hmm, definitely. And if you don't know what empathy means, empathy is when you feel for somebody else. It's pretty simple, right? And man, don't we need more of that in the world today?
Absolutely.
Whew. Big time. Today, we have a different kind of storyteller. Last week, if you remember, Al Bostic told us classic tales from Africa. This year, we have family stories. So it's a different animal. Literally and figuratively, a different animal. We have storyteller Santino Jimenez with us. Santino hails from the state of New Mexico. Yes, indeed. He comes from New Mexico. He is an actor. He's also a comedian. He's also a techie. He's a storyteller. He wears many hats.
I'm pretty sure you have seen Santino's face somewhere because he's been at NBC, ABC, Fox, HBO, Netflix, even in national commercials.
He's been around. So enough about him. Let's meet him.
Let's bring him in.
Come on in, Santino. Ladies and gentlemen, Santino Jimenez.
Hey guys, hello everybody.
Hey, Santino, how are you?
Good.
Now, Santino, when we first met you a few weeks ago, you were on location filming in New Mexico. Is that right?
Yes, I was helping produce a live music show, all COVID safe, of course, in a small town in Tucumcari, New Mexico.
Oh, God, my Aunt Tootie lived in Tucumcari. I'm not kidding. I had an Aunt Tootie in Tucumcari.
I'm glad I know now.
Next time you go, she makes a mean banana bread.
Tootie!
Tutti frutti.
Tutti frutti.
So you are a man of many hats, right? you're a producer, you've done tech, you have a company that does some tech stuff for artists as well, right?
Yeah, I do. I run a self-tape business, so I actually am mobile. I go to people's houses, actors' houses. I read, I edit, I kind of help out in that realm.
It's really pretty typical of LA actors. Most people don't know that actors really are a big part of the gig economy, right?
Yeah, for sure. We're kind of all out here. There's me and then 4 billion of my closest friends
Right.
doing the same thing.
In fact, about the only actor that really has a 9-to-5 job are soap actors. Everybody else is pretty much a freelancer in this field.
Right. Everyone's hustling, trying to do something.
Right,
You know,
right.
3 jobs, 2 jobs. You know, I had a friend that lived in his car for a while. Everyone's just trying to hustle.
It's such a romantic field, acting.
Yeah, especially last year.
Hey, hey, tell me, Santino. So you brought for us family stories today. Where'd they come from?
These stories came from my grandfather. I don't know where he got them from, but he just kind of would tell me stuff or these stories, sprinkle them in kind of throughout the day, mostly in the mornings.
So you don't know if he made them up or if he passed them down from his father. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he'd make them up because I don't think he was that good of a liar. But yeah, he
And
definitely-
and I'm sure the irony has not escaped you that you've come full circle now, and you're the storyteller. You've gone from kid to the grandpa's position, right? Kind of
Right.
beautiful thing.
and now I've kind of, I don't know, I've stepped up into the role of it. We wore the same size shoe, my grandfather and I, so you know.
Is there any pressure in that?
Well, I mean, I'm like the eldest grandkid, so I think there's pressure in anything of like now there's that switch where now you're the adult, and now people are kind of depending on you in a different capacity. So,
So
I would think so.
Do you tell these stories to your younger relatives then?
These ones I haven't, but I've told them different things, you know, specifically about my grandparents or my grandfather specifically.
What's your favorite part when you're telling a story? What's your favorite part about it?
I like making someone like just feel what I'm trying to convey, or just the fact that, you know, the idea of we're just connecting 2 different people from probably 2 different cultures or environments, and we're just there with each other.
Right.
Like,
So-
what is the next thing? Yes.
Santino, where is your abuelo from?
My abuelo, he's from New Mexico, actually. He
Oh,
was
okay.
born and raised, and that's
But you
where
have Mexican ancestors.
I have Mexican, Spanish, and Native American ancestry,
Wow.
Wow, you've got everything there.
except for the money.
Well, you're an actor. It's another thing people don't know about acting, right? Not the most lucrative field in the world for the most
Not
part.
necessarily, no.
But you don't do it, I'm an actor too, and I got to say, you don't do it for the money. You do it for the passion. That's why you're in it.
Yeah, for sure. I genuinely love doing that. Coming from a piece of paper, giving it some sort of life, and then, obviously just having someone connect with that or have it be relatable. And so
Yeah.
just someone is there with you, and then they could be like, I exactly know where that's coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
About how many times have you told these stories you're going to share with us today? What do you get?
I've told them a few times to some friends, like actually, as I've gotten older, it's weird. Like, I don't know if older adults, I tend to be like, hey, there is this story.
Mhm.
And I'll just kind of go in that way.
You talk first about medicine, and then you go to stories.
Right. Yeah. I'll take number 1. So this story I'm about to tell.
All right, listen, we're going to get out of your way and let you get on with your performance. But do you have a few minutes to stick around after? Because I'm sure some of our audience members are going to have questions.
Sure, of course. I'll be more than happy.
Fabulous.
Okay, ¿estamos listos? Are you ready? Disfruten del maravilloso arte del cuentacuentos. Enjoy the beautiful art of storytelling. Con ustedes, Santino Jiménez.
All right. If the map of the United States were in front of you, si tenía un mapa de Estados Unidos, and you zoomed in, preferably with an iPhone, even if you can do the same thing with an Android, but I don't like Androids, okay? So there, I said it. Now, on our iPhone map, between Arizona and Texas, you'd find the state of New Mexico, Nuevo Mexico, the land of enchantment. And if we zoomed in more, just a little south of Albuquerque, we'd find the second largest city in the state called Las Cruces, the city of crosses. And there, roughly 2.5 miles outside of the city limits, amongst dirt lawns, chili fields, and pecan orchards, we would find the small village of San Pablo. Now, this is where I grew up. A little known fact, if it comes up on Jeopardy one day, San Pablo was actually named after my great-grandfather, Pablo Ortega. and where most of my mother's side of the family still lives. My grandparents even built their adobe and cinder block home on this land, only a short walk away from my parents' house. So on weekends, I'd find myself over there in la mañana, bright and early, to find my bushy eyebrowed abuelo. And when I say bushy eyebrows, I mean they were like curtains. Los cejas eran como cortinas. And he'd be cooking some breakfast, cocinando huevos, usually really heavily salted eggs, and sometimes chorizo to go with it. He'd always greet me with a "hello, mijo," as his spoon loudly stirred in the instant coffee he was making in a mug. Now, I understand most people drink hot coffee, but my abuelo, well, he drank lava, all in one gulp. And then he would slam the mug on the counter and let out an ah. His name was Ramon, and he was one of the most intelligent men I've ever met, despite only having a third grade education. He was a plumber by trade and just knew a lot about a lot of things. And we worked on a lot of projects together, even if most of them didn't always come out level. Needless to say, I respected him very much. So these mornings were special, not because I got a free breakfast out of it, but because of the time I spent with him and the stories he'd tell me. Sometimes he'd even make tortillas or biscuits from scratch. No measuring cups or recipes, just everything from up here. Todo de la cabeza. Now, I'm not sure where he got these stories from, but when he told them to me, it would always happen organically and nothing forced. He just made it seem like a conversation. Whether it was his plan or not, of course, these stories made me think, but they also encouraged me to get a different perspective. One particular morning, our conversation turned to the topic about lying and if lies were good or bad. Now, I was somewhere around 10 or so, and there in the corner, next to the counter, was a high stool where I sat as he rolled out another tortilla, and he started with this: "The day it snowed tortillas." "Oh, timber, con cuidado!" Every day, a woodcutter, un leñador, would go into the New Mexican mountains, in las montañas, to work and chop firewood for a living. He was big and strong and great at his job. Now, this was before chainsaws, so all he used was a sharp axe, and he could chop down a tree in no time at all. "Ooh, timber, con cuidado!" He would chop up the tree and split it up and make firewood so he could take it to the village and sell it. He made a pretty good living chopping firewood, but the only problem was this man talked to anyone about anything. Well, one day when the man started off home, he noticed something unusual off the trail ahead of him. "Mira, ¿qué es eso? What is that?" As he got closer, his eyes opened wide and saw 3 leather bags and some tall grass next to the trail. "Mira, tres bolsas." He quickly looked around to see if anyone was there. When he thought the coast was clear, he slowly walked over, put his axe down, picked up the first bag, and untied the string. When he opened it, "Mira, look at this, it's full of gold." Se miró otra vez. He looked around again and then tied the bag closed. He opened up the second bag, and it was full of gold, and so was the third. Well, he grabbed the bags and headed home as fast as he could to show his wife. "Esposa! Esposa! Mira, mira que encontró! Look what I found, my wife! 3 bolsas de oro, 3 bags of gold." "¿Qué? Estás loco! Are you crazy? No estoy diciendo mentiras. Don't you be telling me no lies, my husband." To prove it, he showed them to his wife. Her eyes grew wide. She said, "Ay, Dios mío! Oh my! Please, oh, please don't tell me you told anyone about this gold. Her husband got that look in his eye. I know. Why did you tell? Who did you tell already? Why are you like this? ¿Por qué estás así? Esposa, I only told a few of my friends, and their friends, a couple of strangers, and Chewy, our mule. Now, this man had never gone to school and never learned to read or write, and he wasn't the smartest. He was always doing foolish things like this that got him into trouble. Fortunately, he had a very smart wife who knew how to get him out of the trouble he got himself into. She thought about it for a split second. Robbers must have left these bags in the mountains, and if they know we have them, well, they might come looking for it, and they will kill us to get their gold back. His wife paced for a minute. Then she came up with an idea. Go to the village and buy me some flour, like a lot of flour, like 100 pounds of flour, como 100 libras de harina. Pero, esposa, tengo sueño. I'm tired. His wife just stared at him, raising her eyebrow, giving him the look. Shortly after, the man left the house irritated he had gone into the village. I didn't do nothing but find some gold and worked all day in the mountains, and now I have to carry home 100 pounds of flour? But he did it. When he arrived back home, his wife sent him to bed. You worked really, really hard. Trabajó muy duro. And then you carried all this flour for me. Thank you. He gave a half smile and went into the bedroom and quickly fell asleep. Not long after, his wife came to check on him. Hombre, ¿estás dormido? And with that, she went into the kitchen, opened the big bag of harina, and started making tortillas. She was like a machine, making batches of tortillas, one right after the other, until the stack of tortillas touched the ceiling. Now, after all the flour was gone, she carried all of the tortillas outside and threw them all over the ground. The man was so tired, he didn't wake up at all night, not even to pee. When he woke up the next morning, he rubbed his eyes and he looked out the window and he saw that the ground was covered in tortillas. Esposa! Esposa, mira! Look what happened outside! Mira qué pasó afuera! His wife went to the window, looked, and matter-of-factly said, it must have snowed tortillas last night. Her husband looked at her like she was crazy. ¿Qué dices? What? Se no vio tortillas. In all my life, I've never seen such a thing. Without skipping a beat, his wife chimed back, well, you are not educated, so you better go to school and learn something. Her husband got dressed and got ready for school. She even made him take a lunch with him. Esposo, aquí es su lunch. Now remember, the man didn't know how to read or write, so they put him in the first grade. And all the students stared at the big woodcutter as he tried to fit his large body into a small desk. The teacher would ask questions. ¿Tiene preguntas? And the students would raise their hands, but he didn't know the answers to any of the questions. He was so embarrassed. So he decided to leave the school and go home. When he got home, he slammed the door and told his wife, ¿Sabes qué? You know what? No me importa si no entiendo nada. I don't care if I don't know nothing. I've had enough of school. I'm going to go cut some firewood. I'm going back to work. So off he went. And then sure enough, while the husband was at work, there was some loud banging on the front door. Aquí vengo, un momento, hold your horses. And as the woman went to answer the door, the robbers busted it down. They surrounded the woman and yelled, where are the bags of gold your husband found? ¿Dónde están los bolsas de oro? Gold? I don't know anything about any gold. Come on, your husband has been telling his friends and their friends in the village about the 3 bags of gold. She said, my husband said that? Well, to be honest with you, mi señor, mi esposo, my husband, He says the strangest things. It's curioso, pero I love him. I'm so sorry, but I don't know anything about your gold. Lo siento. The robbers said, we don't believe you, so we'll just wait here until he gets back. They waited the rest of the day at the house. And when evening came, the man walked into the house. The robbers immediately grabbed him. They said, where's the gold you found? ¿Dónde están los bolsas de oro? Tell us, we know you have it. The man said, oh, the gold? El oro, pues, ¿sabes qué? I don't really know, porque my wife had it last. Esposa, my wife, what did you do with the gold? ¿Qué hiciste con el oro? Again, his wife denied it, saying, I don't know anything about any gold. I have no idea what you're talking about. He said to her, of course you do. I came home with 3 bags of gold, and then the next day it snowed tortillas. That was the same day you made me go to school. The robbers looked at one another. She was right. This guy is strange. Did he say it snowed tortillas? Yeah, right? And did his wife make him go to school? Ese hombre está loco. That poor man isn't all there. Oh, the robbers shook their heads, and then they left in disbelief, thinking that the man was ridiculous. As time went by, the woodcutter and his wife never saw the robbers again. And since they never figured out who the gold belonged to, they just decided to go ahead and keep the 3 bags of gold for themselves. Man, I wish I could find just 1 bag of gold on my walk home from work. I always found this story interesting for 2 reasons. 1, what a waste of tortillas. And 2, sometimes it's okay to lie, but other times it's not. That's difficult because shouldn't you always be honest? Now, my Will and I would talk about the stories afterwards, and I would ask him what he thought. It's always better to tell the truth, but as you get older and you get married, sometimes you might have to lie just a little bit. Like when I tell your abuela, like when I tell your grandmother that I'm not smoking a cigarette, but I am. The woodcutter's wife had to lie to keep them from being killed. I think that's a good reason to lie. Here's another tale about lying, but it's a little different. Juan Sigaron. There once was a young man named Juan Sigaron, who was a clever and mischievous man. He was the eldest of a large family, and one day he told his family, Familia, voy a salir de esta casa. I will be leaving this home and I will find fame and fortune. And you know what? He did. He left. Se fue. Now, I'm not sure how or why Juan Sigaron made the choice on becoming a great and powerful magician, but he did. He trained with and amongst the best magicians he could surround himself with. Estudió con el mágicos buenas de todo el país. After some time, his skills became so good that he learned to outsmart even his teachers. Soon, he performed in front of large crowds and tricked people so perfectly, even and especially those that doubted him most, started to believe in him and his magic. Now, Juan Sigaron had gotten what he set out to do. He became famous, and his reputation spread throughout the land. This got the king's attention, and soon Juan Sigaron found himself working for him in the castle. Things were going well for Juan Sigaron until one day, when there was a commotion at the king's palace. It was discovered that many pieces of silverware had gone missing from the kitchen. Now, silverware is made of silver metal, and silver metal is very expensive because the silver had come in Spanish ships from wealthy areas hundreds to thousands of miles away. Well, the grounds were searched by the palace guards, but the silverware was nowhere to be found. Not sure what to do, the king, El Rey, called in the great magician. And one of his advisors told the king, choose your words carefully, for he displays his skill only when he's in the mood to do so. Juan Sigaron entered the king's chambers. I demand that you use your powers to find my silverware and make every piece reappear. You will be kept in the dungeon for 3 days. 3 días. If my silverware has not reappeared in 3 days' time, you will be labeled a phony, a mentiroso, and will pay for it with your life. Juan Sigaron was petrified and felt he had been discovered. I am certainly going to die. Voy a morir. I should have known something like this would eventually happen. Why did I claim to be a magician? ¿Por qué? The truth was, the 3 castle pages assigned to take Juan Sigaron his meals were the very people responsible for stealing the silverware. As day turned to night, Juan Sigaron sat on the cold floor of his cell and said, "Ay, Señor, my dear Lord San Bruno, of those 3, there goes uno." One of the castle pages heard him say this and went to tell the other 2, "We are caught. The magician knows we are thieves. El mágico sabe todo. Oh man, the king's gonna kill us for sure. We'll surely be put to death." The second page chimed in, "Why do you think he knows anything?" The third page said, "You don't really believe that he's a magician, do you?" As the food was delivered on the second evening, Juan Sigaron had spent the day counting down the hours and minutes before he would be killed by the king. The castle page heard him mumble, "Ay, Señor, my dear Lord San Bruno, of those 3, there goes uno." The page's eyes went wide as he hurried away from the dungeon. He quickly found the other 2 pages and said, "I believe you now. Él sabe todo. He knows and we'll all be killed for sure." Needless to say, the 3 pages were worried. On the third and final evening, the third page delivered his food. When Juan Sigaron saw the page, he looked up and said, "Ay, Señor Lord San Andres, now I've seen all 3. The page dropped the tray of food and he fell to his knees. "El mágico, you're right. It was us. Nosotros robó los cubiertos. We stole the silverware. We did it. We stole it. Please do not tell the king." Juan Sigaron was surprised but did not show it. He stood and spoke sternly. "Bring the silverware. Bring me all the silverware, or suffer the wrath of the king." Terrified, the page ran off. The next morning, the king, El Rey, summoned the mighty magician from his cell. Juan Sigaron entered the room confident, knowing what he already knew. "Well, it's been 3 days. Do you have any news for me?" A small smile grew on Juan Sigaron's face. "El Rey, you will find the stolen silverware in the very dungeon where I was in prison the last 3 days." Skeptical, the king sent some men to the dungeon where they did indeed find the stolen silverware. The king was dumbfounded how Juan Sigaron was able to make the stolen items appear. So he decided, "You are hereby appointed my chief magician." Juan Sigaron had somehow managed to get himself out of this dilemma. Some time had passed since the silverware incident, and when the king was walking in his garden one day, he was holding a cigar in his hand that had just arrived from Cuba. Now, the king wanted some entertainment and called upon his chief magician. The king raised up his closed hand and said, "Chief magician, use your powers and tell me what is in my hand." Well, sweat began to form on the brow of Juan Sigaron from just the thought of being put back in the dungeon, or even worse, killed. He no longer wanted to be the fake person he created, so he blurted out, "Your Majesty, mi rey, I must confess, Sigaron is in your hands now." For a moment, everything went silent. Now, it's important to remember in Spanish, the word cigarrón means cigarette, and in this case, cigar. Juan Sigaron trembled with fear as the king looked confused and angry, but let out a laugh. I don't know how you do it, but yes, it is indeed a large cigar. The king opened his fist to reveal a fresh Cuban cigar. I am so impressed with you. Ask what you want of me, and it will be granted. Juan Sigaron was again saved by coincidence and decided to end his ways by telling the king, Mire, I am ready to step down and put my magician life behind me. I need a simpler life. Please grant me this. Por favor, please. The king did not like this request, but honored his promise anyway, and Juan Sigaron was free to leave the palace. So, after years of living a lie, Juan Sigaron went back to his village and his family. Another great lesson there. Now, we all know right from wrong. Well, we should. So I'll leave it up to you to decide if you should lie or not. Just be careful what you're lying for. It's been 10 years since my abuelo passed away. 10. Seems like an eternity. And no one in my family's been able to eat biscuits or tortillas or those salty eggs quite the same. I'm fortunate to have had such a loving man guide, love, and talk with me. I hope you enjoyed these stories. So gracias. Thank you. And as my abuelo, my grandfather Ramon would say, que te vaya bien y que Dios te bendiga.
Que te vaya bien, que Dios te bendiga. I hope all is well. God bless you. My God, it just took me back to my childhood. You know, those are exactly the words that my mom used to tell me when I was a kid. Thank you, Santino. Thank you for bringing back these beautiful memories.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
That was beautiful, Santino. Hey, audience members, there are two ways that you can ask Santino a question. You can either raise your hand, and we will call on you and turn on your camera and your mic, and you can just talk to Santino directly, or you can type it in the chat. You have two choices. Our stage manager, our Zoom stage manager, Brittany Frankie. Brittany, can you come on? And Brittany will either read your question off the chat or call on you if you raise your hand. While you're getting your questions ready, I have one for you, Santino. Your grandfather seemed to be talking to you a lot about lying. It occurred to me. Why? And were you the only grandchild getting these particular stories?
I honestly don't lie. No. The message always from him to me was to mind my parents. He'd always say, mind your mom and pop, mind your mom and pop. So I think with that, it had to be that it was more of a be honest with them, because why should you lie to your parents? I am not the only grandkid. But what's weird is if you were to ask all of us, he each individually made us feel so individually special that we thought that we were his favorite. So I kind of don't ask a lot of other questions. We ask some questions, but I think there's that line of we still want to be the favorite, so we don't go past that point of like, what did you hear that I didn't hear?
Right. I hear you. Brittany, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, actually, we have Margaret raising her hand, so I'm going to unmute her so that she can ask her question.
Great. There's Margaret.
Hi.
Can we see Margaret too? There we are.
Ah.
Margaret, how are you?
Hey, Margaret.
Good.
Hi,
What's your
Margaret.
question for Santino?
How do you chop firewood, like with the branches and all?
You basically have a really sharp axe, some spit on your hands.
Oh.
The spit is optional,
Yeah.
but you swing it in such a way that the blade is really sharp, that it starts hitting that wood and cutting into it. So the more strikes you do with the axe, the more that wood is going to chip away. And so that's how you're able to cut off the branches or even cut the wood into logs.
Great. Hey, Margaret, where are you today? Are you in Los Angeles?
I'll bring her back. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know where she was asking her question from.
Come back, Margaret. You can come back.
Hey, where are you, Margaret? Are you in Los Angeles? Where are you today?
East Los Angeles.
You're in East LA. Good, good, good. Well, thank you for the question and for our for coming live, because when you're back in the room live, Margaret, we're not going to need Brad doing these sound cues anymore, and it's going to be soon that you'll be back in the house. Don't worry, Brad. We'll still have things for you to do.
Thank you, Margaret. Have a good day.
Who else has a question for our storyteller Santino?
Well, we have another question in the chat from Natalie. What role did food and family meals play in your storytelling?
Oh, my storytelling, it was big. Any family function, we would all be at the same table together, or at least the same room. So when you go to my grandparents' house, there would be food cooking in their kitchen. There'd be like folding tables in addition to the dining room table set up in this living room area. And then more people would bring more food from their respective houses. So there was just a bunch of stuff and a bunch of bolillos for like menudo, like on Sundays, or a lot of red chili. But yeah, food plate, it was huge, because that's where everyone talked. That's where I learned how to be loud as well, because you got to get your word in. And everyone,
that's a good skill, huh?
Stop the next person.
Great skill for an actor. Great training.
I developed that at an early age. But it was
Hey, Santino, did your grandfather act out the characters the way you did in your stories?
I'm a little bit more animated than he was, but no, he had this sense of just calm when he would say it.
Just calm narrative. So you added the emotion.
I added that, but with his eyebrows, this is no joke. My grandmother would say, "Can you please cut your eyebrows?" He said, "Leave me alone." They were like this big. So I think him and the way he would look at you when he did that, he was still doing that. I'm just a little bit more animated.
Do you also?
And you trim your eyebrows.
And I trim my eyebrows. I haven't plucked in a while, but I'm,
Santino, do you also write stories, or you just perform them?
I mean, I write my share of scripts and stuff, but I don't know. I think I'm a little shy about sharing things a lot of the time.
Brittany, what other questions do we have?
We have Henry, and I'm going to bring him on right now.
Cool. Henry, where are you, Henry?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Good. So are we.
Henry looks like he's working a job right now.
Yeah.
Security cameras on right now.
He's a police dispatcher in his spare time. Henry, what's your question for Santino?
Did your grandpa like telling stories, or did he love telling stories, or was that his job?
No, it wasn't his job. I think he just liked talking. Yes, it wasn't his job, but yes, he liked telling stories, especially to his grandkids. And since we live so close to each other, that he just kind of would just share this wealth of information and just his life and his love of things, like even music, with us. So he just enjoyed talking to us,
Hey, Henry, are you a storyteller?
No.
Could you be? I'm going to ask Santino that same question. Santino, do you believe Henry is a storyteller?
Absolutely. Like right now, you could tell us the story of what you're doing in that office, and like, why is that fan not on behind you? Because it probably was hot in that room. That room is
when you ask why, it answers you in story form to ask the question why.
I mean, I think that's a great start, of always know the why of why you're telling something, right?
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
starts with why am I doing this? Why am I creating? Why am I going to this hamburger place again? You
Right.
know, it's all the same thing, but always knowing that why I think is super important. But yeah, Henry, you can do it, man. You should do it. Write a story, buddy.
Yeah. Henry, I agree. I think you're a storyteller. You just don't know it yet. You know, there's a famous saying by a man, a very smart guy named Roger Rosenblatt, and he said, stories were invented so that humans could tell, no, sorry, language was invented, he said, so that humans could tell the stories that were already inside of them. Think about that, Henry, because that means you're a storyteller. Thanks for joining us, Henry.
Thanks,
Yeah,
buddy.
let's have another question.
Yes, we have another one from Xavier. I'm going to allow you to speak. Xavier, come with us.
Hey, Xavier.
Can you ask your question, Xavier? All right, no worries. I see that Xavier also wrote, oh, there you are.
Hey, Xavier, how are you?
Hey, buddy.
Are you in LA today too, Xavier? Oop, are you muted?
We can't hear you.
Try it again. Now speak. Let's see if we can hear you, Xavier.
We can't hear Xavier, but I see that he did write a question in the chat. Are these stories real? So maybe he can figure out his
I
audio
hope-
while you answer.
I hope they're real, Xavier. If not, half of my life is a lie, buddy. No, yeah.
Well, we've already established that, Santino. You had a problem.
I have a problem with lying.
You had a problem as a child.
No, buddy. As far as I know, yeah. These, you know, I actually don't know if a long time ago there was a guy named Juan Sigaron, but however my grandfather got these stories, that they came from somewhere. So whether it's not based on somebody, it might have happened somewhere down the line.
Did he tell you as if they were real?
Yeah, and again, it was just always like a conversation. So it was interesting, and I haven't done him any justice in terms of how he was able just to do that.
Nice.
You know.
Hey, thanks for the question, Xavier.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we have another question. Have you, Santino, ever thought about publishing these stories in a children's book?
Actually, not these particular ones, but I've written my own stories. My mom was a teacher for a long time, and so I kind of wrote to that demographic. So somewhere in all my hoarding mess here, there are some stories that I have written long ago that I've done absolutely nothing with, and I should do something with it, but not these particular stories, no.
You mean behind that clean blue background is your messy life?
Yes. Behind here is chaos, Jay. Chaos.
Well, we won't make you see backstage then here at the theater either. We'll spare you. Do you have any other questions, Britt?
Yeah, do you perform at schools for kids?
With another organization, I participate with a program that I'm performing at schools. But
Yeah, and that's Young Storytellers, right?
Yes, I perform with the Young Storytellers.
Yeah, they're buddies of ours. Let's give them a plug.
Yeah, Young Storytellers.
They do good work.
They do. And but yeah, not so much storytelling, but I definitely do that with that organization.
Mhm.
That's great. That's great. Do you
And-
like performing for kids?
Oh, I think it's great. What a better, like, more honest,
Yeah.
the lying theme.
Right.
more
No,
honest
kids will
thing.
let you know if they're
They
bored.
will see through it, man. And
Yeah.
if you're not genuine with it, or just you're just gonna know it's either gonna be good or it's not.
It's one of the reasons we love working for young audiences. They
great.
they're honest. You know
sure.
where you stand.
And just and that energy they have too. It's very just they're there with you.
Yeah.
You know, they want that experience. Opposed to people a little bit older. They're kind of like, all right.
If you're good, they are with you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Britt, what else?
Yes, it's close to Mother's Day. Do you have a mother story?
Do I have a mother's story?
Yeah, a story from your mother or about a mother.
Well, I do have a mom. I have a great mom.
Is she in New Mexico?
She's in New Mexico.
What will you do for her tomorrow on Mother's Day?
I don't know if she's watching right now. I've sent her a card. I'll probably give her a phone call.
Big spender. Big spender.
Not big on flowers, man. She's not a big flower lady. I think those would just be like just personal interaction stories that her and I have of like, when I was growing up, and like just the nonsense that she had to put up with between my brother and I. But
You mean all the lying?
so more Marco, my brother, than Bean.
And did you call him Little Marco?
No, it's his brother. That's my brother's name, Marco Antonio.
Right.
Just kidding, Marco.
Santino, do you normally ask for those stories to your mom, or you used to ask to your grandpa for those stories, or they just come out automatically?
Things would just come up.
Yeah.
Sometimes like, as I got older, I would ask like more specific questions about like, where we came from or where our families came from. But in terms of everything else, just like organically just comes up. It's like, oh, hey, well, did you know that this happened? Like, what? I never knew that. Or did you know that this? And what's funny is even more recently, I've told my cousin, I was like, oh yeah, did you know that such and such? And she was like, are you serious? I never knew about that. So again, it was just always just organically just kind of pop up.
Yeah. Hey, Brett, take 2 more questions.
You got it. Were all of your abuelo's stories in Spanish or English or both?
Both. He spoke to me in English. My grandmother was more the Spanish speaker, but he would do a combination of both, some Spanglish here and there, but a lot was English, and a lot was just like that direct eye contact, again with the bushy eyebrows, but it was primarily in English.
Okay. And finally, what inspired you to be a storyteller?
Oh man, I think I've always just enjoyed stories, from movies to like plays. Like, when I was a kid, my mom would do a Christmas pageant. I've just always enjoyed that level of creativity.
And your abuelo, of course.
Well, yeah, of course. And from that as well, family, of like how so many family members can bring so much different stuff and just impacted my thought process and stuff. I found it so fascinating and just so wonderful that I like to do it.
What was your grandpa's name?
Ramon.
Well, I feel like we all got to know Ramon a little bit
yes.
this morning and this afternoon. So thanks for bringing Ramon to 24th Street Theater, Santino, and thanks for your art.
Gracias,
Thanks,
Santino.
guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And Brittany, thanks for your button pushing in the Zoom room. Stage manager Alex up in the booth here at the theater. And by the way, folks, we do look forward to the day that you'll be back here soon. Everything's reopening, so we know it'll be in short order before we see you face to face and not online. So we look forward to that. Thanks also to Deanna Paff, our fabulous sign interpreter. Deanna, we'll see you next week. And don't go away just yet, because we're going to leave you with a little preview of next week's storyteller, Bennett Schneider, who's got stories from Europe for us. So stick around for that.
Nos vemos la próxima semana.
Once upon a time. These are all landscapes of our own interior. When you travel through a fairy tale, whether you're reading it or listening to a storyteller or telling it yourself, you are traveling through pathways of your own inner consciousness. As Jung used to say, everything in a dream, everything in a story is a reflection, is a part of your own consciousness.